in air evac, aviation medevac. In the studies that have been done over the years of combat operations, there's what they refer to as a golden hour. A soldier gets wounded. That soldier's chance of survival is a lot higher if he can get to medical care that is beyond just what a medic can provide on the ground. Right. If that soldier can get to a higher level of care within an hour, his chance of survival, increases greatly. So when we deploy to combat, what they would do is they would assign 3 or 4 medevac helicopters to a task force, and that task force is responsible for an area of operation, and they they coordinate it with a forward surgical team to be at the base, co-located where the medevac helicopters are located, and basically you have a circle around that forward surgical team. And when you launch the medevac, you can get that wounded soldier back to that forward surgical team within the golden hour. And the FST, or the forward surgical team, they can stabilize that patient. And then if it's life, limb, or eyesight, then we can, once they're stabilized, we can move them to an even higher level of care, which would be like a full-blown hospital in theater.
Okay, and I want you to tell the folks out there about your experience. The one thing that stuck out to me was the one that you went to pick up in the middle of a war zone. I mean, you're getting shot at. Everybody's getting shot at. And he wouldn't leave.
Oh. So this dude was, man, I have to say, I was regular Army, right? I was a regular Army soldier. Nothing special. I wasn't a Special Forces guy, none of that. Just regular Army. But I am grateful to the people that we have in our military. We have straight up warriors, right, that love our country, would give their life for our country, right, without hesitation. And we an example of that, we got a
I love
we got a call to go on a medevac mission, and to pick up a wounded guy, and all the information that we had was a grid coordinate, a GPS coordinate, and what the injury was, and it was one soldier that was injured, and he had a gunshot wound to the neck, and that's all we knew. So we fly out there, and a medevac aircraft landing during a firefight is not ideal. Right, so because the helicopter becomes the target then, and you get the helicopter shot down, then you got even more problems. So, but there were situations where we would be en route to a point of injury pickup of a wounded soldier, and a firefight would break out while we were en route, or when we were almost there, or something like that. So there were situations that dictated that we did pick up wounded people while an active engagement was going on. So we go pick up this guy, and we land, and we don't see any wounded people. Everybody's these guys they're actively shooting, they're engaging the enemy. We landed behind this Afghanistan house wall type thing. We tried to protect the helicopter, so we landed behind that. But the medic jumps out, and he runs to go get the wounded guy, he's looking around. Everybody's in the fight. He doesn't see any wounded people, and then he notices this guy's got some gauze around his neck, and it's got a little bit of blood on it or whatever. And he runs over to that guy. This guy is, I mean, he's engaging the enemy. He's firing, right? He runs over to that guy and he taps him and he like points at the helicopter, like, let's go, and the guy just shrugs him off and he's like, pow, 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 and he's still engaging him. I mean, he doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to go anywhere. He doesn't want to go.
Sorry about that.
But the medic, pretty much grabs him and gets pretty forceful with him, and
Right.
pulls him towards the helicopter. And the guy finally relents and he goes and he gets in the helicopter. He gets in. He doesn't, he doesn't really let the medic do anything with him. The guy gets in. We had a row of seats across the back of the helicopter. Usually the patients are laid down, on the floor of the helicopter, but we had a row of seats in the back, and the guy gets in. He gets in a seat, like no big deal. And he's madder than hell. He is pissed that we took him out of the fight. And turns out he had a bullet wound. Bullet went in one side of his neck, came out the other. And he's still in
That's
the fight.
crazy. So
he's still shooting.
He had a bullet wound all the way through
and through his neck. I don't know how it's even possible that it didn't hit anything vital, and how that man could stay in the fight. But I mean, he did not want to leave. He did not want to get evacuated. He did not want to go to the hospital. He wanted to kill the enemy, is what he wanted, and that's all he wanted.
Wow.
And
that's insane,
dude. We I mean, our military is I couldn't be more proud of soldiers and airmen and Marines and the people that make up our military. I mean, we have some straight up.
We have some real badasses in there. Huh?
I mean, just warriors, man. True to the core warriors that love America. But there were a couple other times we encountered SF guys. There was one time we got a medevac call middle of the night. It was like 2:00 in the morning, and a small group of special forces guys had been inserted into this area, and in their pre-planning, they had picked the landing zone and the drop-off point for the SF guys to be a certain grid coordinate. But there was a lot of rain, and that area became flooded that night. And when they got dropped off, they didn't realize that they were inserted onto what was essentially an island. Because of the flooding.
Right.
They tried to cross, and unfortunately, one soldier was swept away, in the current, and lost. And at the same time, they came under fire from the Taliban, and another soldier got shot through the arm, through the bicep there. And they called the medevac for that. But when we landed on the island, and the team leader, he said, "Hey, we got a problem here. We're stuck on this island." And so we ended up we loaded everybody on our medevac bird, and we moved them, not very far, but we moved them off of that island and where they could become combat effective again. And then
right.
And then we went up and down the flooded river, looking for the missing soldier. Meanwhile,
did you ever find him?
Well, he was found. We didn't find him, but meanwhile, the back at our headquarters, the Tactical Operations Center, they're calling us, wondering what we're doing because they can see us on the map. All the helicopters had a device on it called a Blue Force tracker. So they could see us on the map, and they could see that we were flying up and down the river.
Right.
And for whatever reason, their decision was not to have us, search for that missing soldier at that time. But I did it anyway, because
Right. You're trying to find someone who's.
man, if the quicker that person was found, the better, And I was hoping that maybe he was still alive and we could find him and recover him.
What did he survive?
No, unfortunately, no.
Oh man,
Nope.
that sucks.
Nope.
He got swept off in the current.
Yeah, he drowned. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks bad.
Yep.
Now, did you ever get like asked to go look for troops like that?
That was the only situation where we were doing a search. Somebody's missing and we're doing a search. But like I said, we weren't authorized to do that.
To do that kind of thing.
Yeah, but
So are they? Could you look it up? Are they the biggest in the opium problem here in the United States, or I shouldn't say. They're not. Okay. They're not even close.
so
They just use that to fund their military.
yeah, they use that. The Taliban used it to fund that in country, right? So that was the mission that I was on that. So at the at the surprise of my wife, when I was offered that job, I accepted it, and it was right back to Afghanistan for me.
Oh, jeez.
So I ended up going back to Afghanistan, to Kandahar, and I was flying Hueys over there, and we were doing the narcotics operations. But we would also, since we were since we were a contractor for the State Department, we would also do things like if a congressional delegation came to Afghanistan, we would fly them around. If to different locations so they could tour, go on a tour of the country. We would move the ambassador around the country as he needed to go around the country. We would fly people from the airport in Kabul, because we had operations in Kabul and Kandahar. We would use helicopters to fly people from the Kabul airport over to the U.S. Embassy in Kabul. So it was a interesting program. It was a lot different than medevac.
I know that I didn't see it, but you said you had a picture of an RPG coming at you.
Well, there was one mission that we went on. There was which this was a pretty common thing that we would do. The DEA was over there, and they would identify opium processing facilities. And once they were identified, they would insert people on the ground a couple kilometers away. And these guys would go on foot to an overwatch position. And they would watch for a couple days and confirm or deny that it is or it isn't opium production. And if they could confirm that it was involved in opium production, then we would use our air assets with DEA personnel and Afghan police to do a raid pretty much on that facility.
Right.
We would fly in the guys at 4:00 in the morning, and they would go kick in the door and seize the drugs and arrest the people involved. So